Today we will discuss how to solve ratio problems using ratio tables. Problem number 1, Tammy is making chicken and rice casserole for dinner. One serving of the casserole contains a half a cup of mushrooms and 3/4 cups of rice. How many cups of rice would be in 5 servings of the chicken and rice casserole? Let's begin by creating a ratio table. We know that one serving of casserole would require a half a cup of mushrooms and 3/4 cups of rice. So every time I add a serving, I want to add a half a cup of mushrooms. So 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1 whole. Every time I add a serving, I also want to add 3/4 cups of rice. So 3/4 plus 3/4 is 6/4. 3 servings would require 1.5 cups of mushroom and 9/4 cups of rice. 4 servings would be 2 cups of mushrooms. 2 cups of mushrooms would be needed, and 12/4 cups of rice would be needed. 5 servings, and this is the number of servings that we're asked about in the problem. It says how many cups of rice would be needed in 5 servings of the casserole. So 5 servings would require 2.5 cups of mushrooms and 15/4 cups of rice. Now, we know that 15/4, if we were to change that into a mixed fraction, 4 would go into 15 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. 15 minus 12 is 3. So we get 3 3/4. So when there's 5 cups or 5 servings of chicken and rice casserole, that will require 3 3/4 cups of rice. So our answer is 3 3/4 cups. Problem number 2, to make gravy, 1/4 cup of flour is needed for every 2.5 tablespoons of broth. How many cups of flour is needed for 10 tablespoons of broth? So let's begin this problem by creating our ratio table and filling in the first row. 1/4 cup of flour, 2 1/2 tablespoon of broth. If we continue this pattern, then the next row would be 2/4 cup of flour, 5 tablespoons of broth. 3/4 cups of flour, 3/4 of a cup of flour, 7 1/2 tablespoons of broth. In the fourth row, we would have 4/4, which is equal to 1 whole cup of flour and 10 tablespoons of broth. Notice in the first column, we went up by 4s. And every time I went up by 1/4 in the first column, in the second column, I increased my value by 2.5 tablespoons. So when we get to a point where we have 10 tablespoons, 1 cup of flour is needed. How many cups of flour is needed for 10 tablespoons? So we get an answer of 1 cup. Problem number 3. The ratio of girls to boys in Mr. Sam's class is 2 to 3. If there are 25 students in Mr. Sam's class, how many boys are there? Let's begin solving this problem by creating a ratio table. We know that there are 2 girls for every 3 boys, which would give us a total of 5 students. 4 girls 6 boys, 10 students. So if I continue this method, every time I add 2 girls, I need to add 3 boys to keep the ratio in proportion. So 2, 4, 6 girls, 3, 6, 9 boys would be 15 students. 2, 4, 6, 8 girls, 12 boys would be 20 students. 10 girls, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 boys would give us a total of 25 students. So when there are 25 students, there are 15 boys. 15 is our answer. Another strategy that you can use to solve this problem is the multiplicative strategy, and that allows us to skip some rows. So I would still have my first row would still be the same, 2 girls, 3 boys, 5 students. I would put my 25 here in my second row, and I would look at the column where I have both values. I know that 5 times 5 is 25. So I want to make sure every value in the first row is multiplied by 5. 3 times 5 is 15. 2 times 5 is 10. So when there are 25 students, there are 15 boys.